The legend of Arturo Gatti. Welcome, everyone, to an incredible journey through the life of a true boxing icon, Arturo Gatti. This isn't just the story of a man who stepped into the ring, it's the saga of a phenomenon, a force of nature who redefined what it meant to be a fighter. With every jab, every hook, every thunderous punch he threw, Gatti didn't just battle opponents, he captivated audiences around the globe. His fights were more than mere contests, they were electrifying spectacles, delivering heart-stopping moments that left fans gripping the edge of their seats, breathless with anticipation. His spirit? Unbreakable. His presence? Absolutely unforgettable. Inside those ropes, Gatti was a whirlwind of passion and power, a man who turned the brutal art of boxing into something mesmerizing, something almost poetic. But there's more to this tale than the dazzling lights of the ring and the roar of the crowd. Beneath the surface of his celebrated career, beneath the glory, the titles, and the adoration, lies a much darker narrative, one that twists and turns into a tragic story brimming with unanswered questions. What really happened to this larger-than-life boxing legend? How did a man who seemed invincible in the squared circle meet such an enigmatic and sorrowful end? Today, we're not just recounting a biography, we're peeling back the layers of Arturo Gatti's extraordinary life. We'll travel from the gritty streets of his early days to the dizzying heights of his rise to fame, and then plunge into the shadowy depths surrounding the mysterious circumstances of his death. Early life and rise to fame. Arturo Gatti's story begins on April 15, 1972, in Cassino, Italy, but it truly took root when his family moved to Montreal, Canada, seeking a better life. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Gatti faced the struggles common to immigrant families, challenges that shaped his grit and perseverance. At just 8 years old, his father introduced him to boxing, and it was love at first punch. Gatti threw himself into training, his passion for the sport burning bright from the start. By his teenage years, he was already turning heads in the amateur circuit with his aggressive style and raw talent. His hard work paid off big time. Gatti snagged 2 junior Canadian championships and 3 Golden Gloves, cementing his status as a rising star. With an amateur record of 22 wins and only 3 losses, he caught the eye of local promoters hungry for fresh talent. But the leap from amateur to pro wasn't just a step, it was a transformation. Gatti spent those final amateur years sharpening his skills, learning to channel his wild energy into a disciplined ferocity that would define his professional career. Coaches and peers saw something special in him, a hunger that went beyond winning, a drive to prove himself on a bigger stage. That stage arrived in 1991, when, at the age of 19, Gatti turned pro, stepping into the ring against Jeff Frank for his debut. That first professional fight was a turning point. Gatti didn't just win, he announced himself to the world. Beating Jeff Frank was more than a victory, it was the spark that ignited a career destined to dazzle. Promoters who'd watched him dominate amateurs now saw a young man ready to take on the pros, and they weren't disappointed. Gatti quickly became known for his fearless approach and thrilling bouts, a fighter who didn't just compete, he performed. Each match was a showcase of his relentless spirit, a display of heart and hustle that drew crowds who couldn't get enough of his electrifying energy. Fans began packing venues, buzzing with excitement, whispering his name as the next big thing. This was just the beginning for a kid from Montreal who'd soon become a global name in boxing. What started as a boy's dream in a tough neighborhood was blossoming into a legacy. Gatti's early years weren't just about building a record, they were about forging a fighter, one who'd carry the hopes of his family, his city, and eventually an entire sport on his shoulders. From those first punches at 8 to the roar of the crowd in 1991, Arturo Gatti was laying the groundwork for a journey that would captivate the world. Professional debut and style. In 1991, Arturo Gatti stepped into the professional ring, and a legend was born. His debut against Jeff Frank wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Gatti brought an exhilarating style that set him apart from the pack. What made him special? It was more than his power, it was his charisma, his willingness to go toe-to-toe with anyone. He blended raw aggression with a fighting spirit that left spectators speechless, trading blows in exchanges that became the stuff of boxing lore. Early in his career, Gatti delivered knockouts and slugfests that showed he could take a hit and hit back even harder. These weren't just fights, they were wars, and Gatti was a gladiator thriving in the chaos. His reputation grew with every bout, as word spread of a young fighter who didn't back down, who turned the ring into a battlefield of heart and hustle. Opponents began to respect, and fear, the relentless energy he brought, while promoters saw dollar signs in his ability to pack arenas. By the mid-90s, Gatti was climbing the ranks, his name buzzing in boxing circles as a must-see attraction, a guarantee of drama every time he laced up his gloves. His trilogy with Micky Ward, especially their first fight in 2002, is legendary, named Fight of the Year for a reason. In that ring, Gatti's heart shone through as he battled adversity with a determination that seemed superhuman. His style evolved into a mix of calculated chaos and unpredictable brilliance, power punches that floored opponents and comebacks that snatched victory from defeat. Every fight was a story, packed with drama and triumph, a roller coaster of emotion that kept fans hooked. Whether he was staggering from a blow or rallying with a flurry of his own, Gatti turned moments of doubt into displays of sheer will. Outside the ring, Gatti's charm won over fans just as much as his fists did. He was real, passionate, and dedicated, a fighter who loved the sport and let it show. His bouts weren't just contests, they were spectacles that etched his name into boxing history. With titles on the line and the world watching, Gatti's pro debut marked the start of a career that would see him rise to the top, pulling fans into a whirlwind of excitement they couldn't resist. He wasn't just building a record, he was crafting a legacy, one bruising, breathtaking fight at a time, proving that in the world of boxing, Arturo Gatti was a force unlike any other. Tragic downfall. As Arturo Gatti's star rose, shadows began creeping into his personal life. Behind the cheers and championship belts, he faced battles far tougher than any opponent in the ring. His marriage to model Amanda Rodriguez started with promise but soon turned stormy, plagued by public fights and rumors of infidelity. The tabloids ate it up, and the pressure started to weigh on Gatti's shoulders. Life outside the spotlight was unraveling, and the man who once seemed invincible was showing cracks. After retiring in 2007, Gatti struggled to find his footing. The roar of the crowd faded, and obscurity hit harder than any punch he'd ever taken. He tried to carve out a new path, dabbling in business ventures and spending time with his young family, but the transition was brutal. Boxing had been his identity, his lifeline, and without it, he floundered. The world that once revolved around his every move now seemed indifferent, and Gatti, a man built for the spotlight, found himself lost in the quiet. Friends noticed his restlessness, the way he'd reminisce about the old days, as if the ring still called to him in a voice he couldn't ignore. Whispers of alcohol abuse surfaced, along with signs of a deeper emotional toll. Questions about who he was without boxing haunted him. Friends saw a different Gatti, one wrestling with demons that fame couldn't fix. The sport he loved had built him up, giving him purpose and adoration, but life after it was tearing him down, stripping away the armor he'd worn so proudly. What had been a source of strength became a void, and the fighter who'd once rallied against impossible odds now faced an enemy he couldn't punch his way through. Beneath the glitz of his career, Gatti was slipping into a tragic spiral. The resilience that defined his fights couldn't shield him from personal turmoil. His story was no longer just about glory, it was setting the stage for a devastating turn that would leave the world stunned. What had once been a tale of triumph was morphing into something far darker, a prelude to a mystery that would forever change how we see Arturo Gatti. The man who'd conquered the ring was losing a fight no one could see, and the consequences would ripple far beyond his final bell. The death of Arturo Gatti, a shocking mystery. On July 11, 2009, the boxing world woke up to shattering news: Arturo Gatti was dead. Found in a seaside apartment in Brazil, the 37-year-old legend was gone, leaving fans and friends reeling. At first, authorities called it suicide. A belt was wrapped around his body, and the initial autopsy backed that story. But for a fighter known for his unbreakable will, this explanation didn't sit right. Doubts crept in fast. Could a man so full of life really end it all? Then came the twists. bruises on Gatti's body hinted at a struggle, and those close to him pointed to a positive shift in his life post-retirement, a quieter existence with his family. Rumors of foul play spread like wildfire. Eyes turned to his wife, Amanda Rodriguez, whose rocky marriage to Gatti fueled speculation. Had their fights turned deadly? The media pounced, and conspiracy theories exploded. Revenge, a cover-up, anything seemed possible. The investigation dragged on, but answers stayed out of reach. Conflicting reports only deepened the confusion, leaving fans desperate for closure yet stuck with questions. Was it suicide, murder, or something else entirely? When the case closed, it did so without a clear truth, wrapping Gatti's death in a shroud of mystery. His story, once a celebration of grit, became a haunting puzzle, a reminder that even champions can fall to shadows we may never fully understand. Legacy and reflection. Arturo Gatti's legacy isn't just about wins, it's about the fire he brought to boxing. His epic clashes with Micky Ward are immortal, showcasing a heart that refused to quit. Those fights, hailed as some of the sport's greatest, turned rivals into legends and gave fans moments they'll never forget. Gatti wasn't just a fighter, he was an inspiration, showing aspiring boxers what resilience really looks like, both in victory and struggle. But his story's complexity adds depth to that legacy. His tragic end sparked conversations about mental health in sports, shining a light on the battles athletes face off the stage. Gatti's life reminds us that fame can mask pain, urging better support for those under its glare. His name still echoes in gyms and arenas, inspiring the next generation to lace up and fight with the same spirit he did. Was Gatti just a boxer, or a mirror to the highs and lows of greatness? His tale, of courage in the ring and mystery beyond it, keeps us hooked. He left us with unforgettable matches and a lingering question: what price did he pay for his glory? Arturo Gatti's journey, with all its triumphs and tragedies, remains a powerful chapter in boxing history, one that challenges us to look beyond the gloves and into the soul of a champion. Each section is precisely tailored to fit the narrative arc, ensuring no part feels extraneous. Copy these sections as is for your AI to narrate, and you'll have a compelling video ready to go. Let me know if you need adjustments.